On this page, there's a listing of the most common things that we are going to encounter with our clients. And so I'm going to give you the most common remedies for these. Of course, you want to test each individual to see if that remedy is the appropriate one for them and if it's complete for them. First one on our list is Sora, and the remedy for that is Sorinum. If this is affecting the skin and you do have the condition of psoriasis, they may also want calendula to help repair the skin. If the skin is inflamed, you may want to use an inflammation remedy. I will come back to those. Oftentimes, psoriasis is very itchy. So the remedies for being itchy are bryonia and rhus tox.
Right.
The next one on our list is leucinum or syphilis. And the homeopathic for that is syphilinum and Merck Sol. And I don't see any variations in that one. It's always that combination for leucinum. Psychotic. The psychotic miasm is gonorrhea. The remedy for gonorrhea is metarhinum. And the metarhinum will combine with either Merck Core or Merck Cyanide. So you have to test to see which of those the individual prefers. Herpes simplex. There are two remedies here. One is aconite, and the other is nat mur or natrum muraticum. Some individuals will want one or the other or both.
Oh, could you say that again, please?
The first one is aconite,
Aconite.
and the second one is nat mur
Nat Muir.
or natrum muraticum. You have to excuse me, I oftentimes speak in the short form. Herpes progenitalis. The remedy here is Rumex. Every once in a while there's a variation, which could be anything. 90% of the time it's Rumex. Herpes zoster. This is Hypericum and Secal. That's S-E-C-A-L-E.
And
Hypericum. H-Y-P-E-R-I-C-U-M. Herpes zoster is shingles. The various herpes viruses have predispositions as to where they want to show up. And herpes zoster likes to go for the nerve tissue. And since the nerve tissue, particularly on the rib cage, is really close to the surface, often that's where the inflammation shows up for shingles. They have those terrible ads on TV about if you ever had whatever it was, you're going to have shingles. It's just a terrible thing to tell people. Chlamydia. Remedy here is Cuprum metallicum, or Cup-Met. Verruca. Verruca is the wart virus. And remember, the wart virus creates cysts, tumors, moles. All of those things are the growth of verruca, the wart virus. The remedy there is Thuja, T-H-U-J-A, and oftentimes in combination with Murex, M-U-R-E-X. And you have to remember that with warts and cysts and moles, that these are really tough little structures. They are tightly interwoven. And so it really takes time for them to resolve. You have to be patient and, of course, remind your client to do the same thing. CMB is cytomegaloBacteria. And the main remedy is pyrogenium and echinacea. And oftentimes something else. CMV is cytomegalovirus, which is aconite and echinacea, and often something else.
Ooh, question,
Yes?
when you're saying echinacea, would we have to test for which echinacea?
Yeah, you have to test for which echinacea. We mostly use echinacea A and P, although there's probably about a dozen of them, but those are the two that come up the most frequently.
I'm sorry, what was the remedy for CMV?
Aconite and echinacea. For virtually all viruses, the number one antiviral in our pharmacy is aconite. It's good for colds and flus and all kinds of viruses.
Oh, it's not on our.
And then the number one antibacterial is pyrogenium. It's oftentimes in the combination for any kind of bacteria. HIV. So far, there's no predominant remedy that has shown up. I've treated this, a dozen times or more, and everybody selects a different remedy.
Well,
So, just see what happens. Now, let's talk about this lung group. Tuberculosis, tuberculosis aviary, tuberculosis bovine, pneumonia, pneumonia mixed flower, Klebsiella pneumonia, mycoplasma pneumonia, rhino pneumonia, this entire group. The remedies are very much the same. Sometimes there are variations, and it begins with antimonium crude and antimonium tart.
crude and tart.
Lycopodium
Lycopodium.
and spongia. In instances where it's a very chronic tuberculosis, a very chronic pneumonia, you also want to add baptisia. Baptisia is for very chronic long-term infections.
That's for chronic.
Rhino pneumonia basically means, your nose, your sinuses. And when that is the issue, you also need to test for Allium cepa or Allium sativa, which is onion and garlic. Allium cepa, C-E-P-A,
Allium,
A-L-L-I-U-M,
cepa,
and sativa, S-A-T-I-V-A. Those help clear the sinuses.
And you said that cepa means onion?
Yeah. And if there is a cough as well, the cough will require one of the Kali remedies. That's K-A-L-I. Either Kali-Bic, Kali-Brome, Kali-Chlor. There's a bunch of them. The main one is usually Kali-Bic. That's if there's also a cough with this issue. The next ones on our list, Epstein-Barr and mononucleosis.
Are those together?
Well, I'm putting them together because they both require aconite and echinacea plus something else. Both of them will start with the antiviral of aconite and need the echinacea, and then it sort of gets customized for each individual, what Epstein-Barr and mono need. Asthma. Asthma is that condition of tight chest, and most frequently this is emotional. And the classic remedies for this is hyoscyamus, Hyossycamus, sycamus, yeah, and stramonium, Stramonium. Those are the two classic remedies for the emotional asthma. This next group of bronchitis, pleuritis, sinusitis, and tonsillitis, those are all a result of the things listed above, the various pneumonias and tuberculosis. So oftentimes, if these were an issue, by the time you've made your tuberculosis and pneumonia remedies, those are typically already covered under the same category. The only thing that might come up is if tonsillitis is there, you might need an additional inflammation remedy.
Like belladonna, maybe?
Well, let's take a moment and make a little side note, and I'll tell you the most typical inflammation remedies. The first one is belladonna. And then capsicum.
That's pepper.
You're right, it's pepper. And cantharis, Cantharis. And another one which isn't used as frequently, so it's at the bottom of the list here, is MAG, M-A-G period, FOS. MAG FOS, also a delightful anti-inflammation remedy. And the most common one is belladonna.
What is that made from?
Belladonna? The plant belladonna.
So it's a flower or?
Let's see, I don't know if belladonna is a flowering plant or not. Yeah.
Is it also what they use to make your pupils dilate?
I don't know. So this next category, we have a listing of the different types of hepatitis. And the number one liver remedy for any condition is chelidonium.
How do you spell that?
Chelidonium. And with hepatitis, it is typically combined with Merck dulc or Mercurius dulcamara. And that works for all of these except for one, which is the hepatitis B and EB. You need the Merck dulc plus you need the Epstein-Barr remedy, which would be typically aconite and echinacea.
And that's for Hep
That's-
B and EB virus, right?
Right, EB is Epstein-Barr.
So the hepatitis E and B would be the chelidonium and the Merck dulc plus an Epstein-Barr remedy?
Right,
Okay.
right, just for that one. So let's skip down to this last little section that starts with peritonitis. So peritonitis is an infection within the peritoneum, within the abdominal cavity, and it is usually the result of appendix, appendicitis, one of those kinds of things. The appendix will get inflamed and it will leak, and that will cause an inflammation in The peritoneum, well, it's bacterial, so the remedy would start with pyrogenium and echinacea. And then depending on which condition is going on down there and what sort of bacteria it is, you would have to, create test for the remainder of the remedy. Dupuytren is a condition where the tendons, mostly in the hand, will become rigid. And one part of that remedy is ruta, R-U-T-A. And then from there you're going to have to test, because again, that one becomes very custom.
So every time you test for something, you go with the norm, and then you ask, is that
If that's complete.
if that's complete, and then that's how you know to start looking for other stuff.
Right. This next one is polyarthritis, which just means all of them. You're testing for all of them, except for the one listed below, which is rheumatoid arthritis. So with arthritis, the remedy is Rhus tox, R-H-U-S-T-O-X. And it just works really, really well on arthritis. Frequently, the arthritis will need an inflammation remedy to go with it. Most of the time, belladonna. It could be different, but most of the time, belladonna. Rheumatoid arthritis also needs the Rhus tox, except what makes it deform like that is it's also working with syphilis. So it would also need the syphilis remedy to go with the Rhus tox for the rheumatoid.
Syphilis remedy?
Mm-hmm.
Syphilis. You gave that to us already, didn't you?
Supplement?
We may have spoke about that, yes. Gout. The remedy for gout is colchicum, C-O-L-C-H-I-C-U-M. And gout also would like an inflammation remedy. And this one is oftentimes capsicum.
Pepper.
Scarlatina is scarlet fever, which many individuals had as a child, and well, sometimes it just never goes away. And scarlatina typically requires aconite and belladonna. Vaccininum. Vaccininum is a condition of the ill effects of being vaccinated. Fortunately, there's a wonderful remedy for it. Thuja, T-H-U-J-A. Thuja is an excellent remedy for the ill effects of vaccination. Oftentimes, if I have individuals who are going traveling, and that traveling requires that they get vaccinations before they go, I will just give them, a dose of Thuja and say, okay, well, after they give you a shot, take one of these. So it will quell any ill effects. Candida. I believe we spoke about Candida before, and the remedy, did I give you the formula for?
Yes, yes you did.
Okay, and just reiterate that that's Carboanimalis, Carbovegetalis, Laccaninum, and Monilia albicans. And you potentize those, whatever the person tests for, and that's a wonderful Candida.
Wait.
Wait a minute. Oh, Carbo animalis, Carbo vegetalis,
Caninum,
and
Monilia
Monilia
albicans.
albicans. Yeah, I have those.
Okay. And then the rest of this list is all the other sorts of common things that we will find. Let me single out for starters on the list. We have botulism and salmonella. And these are real common. People unfortunately call with some frequency, oh, my tummy's upset. Oh yes, I had sushi. Oh, okay.
Sushi.
So, I'm going to give you what I call my bad food remedy for botulism and salmonella, which is aloe, Aurum met,
AU.
A-U-R-U-M, and Cuprum met, Echinacea A and Echinacea P, and Pyrogenium. Many of my clients, I have made a bad food remedy for them, and I just always make a lot of it so that there's plenty left over. They can have it in their first aid kit at home, right? Because it'll happen again.
You gave me a sunburn one too. Hope you get to that one again.
Which one?
I had a sunburn and you gave me a remedy
And P.
and it worked really good.
Oh, okay.
And then
Here we have a side
Pyrogenium.
note. The remedy for sunburn is Sol, S-O-L,
Stands for sun.
which is the sun,
Yeah.
and belladonna. That'll cool things off. And if they're itchy, Bryonia Rustox.
And what?
If they're itchy,
Bro.
yeah, Bryonia and Rustox. And if they're really, really, really fried, you might even want to give them radium.
Really burned?
Yeah, like really, really, really burned. Because you get to a certain point with sunburn where now you're at radiation poisoning.
Oh.
Particularly if you're, say, boating, so that you're not only getting the sun this way, but you're also getting it off the water. You've been out on the lake for 10 hours and stuff like that. You can get radiation poisoning.
Well, I have to say, when you gave me that salt, it worked better, because at first I was spraying the regular over the stuff, and I'm like, help, and then that worked better than that spray whatever drugstore.
Let's talk our little buddies, parasites.
What did you use?
There are 3
Spray thing?
typical parasite remedies. The first one is Cinna, C-I-N-A, Naphthalene, N-A-P-T-H-L-I-N-E, and Traxacum, T-R-A-X-A-C-U-M.
And that's for parasites.
Those are for parasites. Parasites such as, on our list, amoebas, B. proteus, and oxyran. Those are parasites.
Amoeba, B. proteus.
Those are all parasites. And the other parasite that's listed on here is Giardia, which is a waterborne parasite, which we used to have to travel for.
Not anymore.
And the remedy for that one is very specific. It's Kalmia, K-A-L-M-I-A.
K-A-L.
M-I-A. Campylobacter. That's the bacterial type of ulcer. And so, what's our number one antibacterial? Pyrogenium. So Pyrogenium and Echinacea for the Campylobacter. Colitis.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Wait,
Oh.
Okay.
Campylobacter is, say that again?
Pyrogenium and Echinacea.
Thank you. Okay.
Colitis is very emotional. It's not really a pathogen. And usually the remedy that works for this, as it did this morning, is Nux vomica. Diverticulosis. This is where someone's colon has really gotten misshaped and twisted, and there's a lot of pockets, and in the pockets is nasty bacteria. So let's try it again. Our number one antibacterial.
Pyrogenium.
Pyrogenium.
Hey! Here we go. So it would start with Pyrogenium and Echinacea A, and quite likely some other stuff.
You said specifically that time Echinacea A, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next we have the 2 types of ulcer, duodenal and ventricular. These are typically also very emotional and also will respond well to Nux vomica. The last one on our list here is hemorrhoids. And the classic remedies for hemorrhoids are aesculus,
How do you spell it?
A-E-S, how did you do this right? Yeah, A-E-S-C-U-L-U-S, and hamamillis, H-A-M-A-M-E-L-I-S. And quite seriously, anybody that's got hemorrhoids, 99% of the time, it's one of those remedies.
And didn't you say anger?
Oh yeah, it's about anger, and it's about not letting go. Come on, relax, it'll be okay. Sometimes also the hemorrhoid remedy wants an inflammation remedy, and it could be any of them. And if it's really bad, it sometimes even wants an itchy remedy, right? So first we come back and when we're making our remedy, we're creating remedies for all of the pathogens. And then we come back and oftentimes when we look at the other systems that were stressed, because we've already made the remedy, it's already taken care of and doesn't necessarily need anything else, right? That's what we come back and check. So, one of the things that's on here is concussion, and there's a specific remedy for concussion, which is arnica, hypericum, and nat sulf. And if it's one of those concussions that's current, recent, there still may be inflammation and require belladonna.
So there was arnica plus what else?
It was arnica, hypericum, nat sulf.
Salt?
Nat sulf,
And if there's inflammation,
belladonna.
belladonna.
And if you recall when I said if we get a weak response on either crown or cerebellum to look for MS and Parkinson's, that's where it'll show up. And the remedy for that is gelsemium, G-E-L-S-E-M-I-N-U-M. And it works very well for both of those conditions.
That's for MS and Parkinson's.
And there are remedies for like the pituitary, pineal, thyroid, thymus, adrenals. If you think about the size and shape of those particular structures, there are remedies that have similar structures. And sometimes when there's like, there was a challenge for his pineal gland, and so the pineal gland wanted an additional remedy, which was allium cepa. It could have been allium cepa or allium sativa, which is onion and garlic. Think about the structure of those compared to the structure of those glands, okay? And the other one that falls in that category is ranunculus, R-A-N-U-N-C-U-L-U-S. Think about the structure of the ranunculus bulb and what that looks like and what these particular pieces of the endocrine system look like. Right? So sometimes those will come up as remedies for that.
You know what's funny is I crave a lot of onion and garlic.
Say again?
I crave a lot of onion and garlic, and I mean, like growing up, I never ate onion and a curry last because I was piling on my food.
Okay.
It makes the component makes sense.
And then under organs, Sinuses, people who have plugged up sinuses, whether it's a cold or a chronic thing, again, our buddies Allium cepa and Allium sativa will help clear the sinuses. Eyes. We talked a little about the different conditions you can find with the eyes. In terms of there just being a remedy that's really good for eyes, it's euphrasia, euphrasia. It's like a tonic for the eyes. It's one of those things that we've used for hundreds, if not a couple thousand years that we've known about euphrasia. If you look, it's still an ingredient in Visine.
Gets the red out.
No, euphrasia doesn't. Teeth. One of the things I will do with anybody, children in particular, before they have their first teeth, oftentimes those or before they have their permanent teeth, those first teeth are very susceptible to cavities, which of course they hate going to the dentist. One of the things that can keep your teeth strong is the remedy calc fluor, which is calcarea fluoride. CalcFluor, calc fluor. And typically in a low potency like 200 C, and just as a maintenance thing, it just keeps you from getting cavities. It's pretty cool. Gums. Gums are very much like the skin tissue, so one of the remedies that gums like is calendula. Heart. When issues come up with heart, most of the time it's just as a result of stress. It's not very frequently that I find a real valve problem or something of that nature. And so typically the heart just wants a tonic. And the tonic for heart is Cactus grandiflorus. Yippee! And it just perks everything up. Circulation. There's a really wonderful remedy for circulation, which is cicuta, C-I-C-U-T-A. And it really perks up circulation. Most people have a circulation issue so far that I find. It's the venous circulation. It's the return, much more than arterial usually. Liver. Almost anything with the liver that goes amiss is going to want chelidonium. Right? We mentioned that when we were talking about hepatitis.
Chelidonium.
C-H-E-L-I-D-O-N-I-U-M. Kidneys. The remedy they love is berberis. B-E-R-B-I-S.
Berberis or
Berberis.
Berbis?
Berberis, did I spell it right? I might not
So
have.
it's B-E-R-B-E-R?
B-E-R-B-E-R-R-I-S. Sorry.
B-E-R-B.
E-R-R-I-S.
Berberis.
We talk about that law of similars and like cures like.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cute. The berberis plant has little leaves that are kidney shaped. It's just the cutest thing. And a lot of these things are like that, like euphrasia. The plant euphrasia is a flower.
Mm-hmm.
And the flower is perfectly round, it's yellow, and it has a black dot in the middle.
The eye.
Duh. It looks just like an eyeball.
When you give people like that kidney stone cleanse, do they tend to need the berberis as well? Just to,
If they test for it, right. If there's any kind of kidney issue, oftentimes if people have kidney stones, we'll give them the kidney cleanse and yet also give them berberis as a tonic, just, for the kidney. Or say there's an infection in the kidney, some bacteria or something. The remedy would probably also include berberis just for the well-being of the kidney. Let's see. Bladder and ureter. Whenever there's an infection there, the inflammation remedy is almost always cantharis. Cantharis is just delightful for that. So those are the ones that for these pages, those are the remedies that come up very frequently. So if those conditions appear with the individual you're working with, just try those first. That's all this is about. Try those first. And you'll find most of the time they're gonna work. And sometimes for your individual, it may not be complete. You're gonna have to add something else. And the muscle testing will tell us that.
So we should memorize them by next class, huh?
Really, there's going to be a test. Well, actually, the test is going to be, when you do the other person, how much time you have to spend it looking
Right.
up in your notes, right? Right. Well, let's take a break. I have to stop talking.
Okay.
Break time.
Mm.